Well, hello, ENDAR racers. My name is Dr. Amy Kempfer. I own my own practice in Fargo called Body and Balance Chiropractic. I hooked up with Tim, your race director for this event, and we talked about just doing some cool injury prevention stuff, prehab ideas for exercises for people to do for home care. I'm going to start and tell you a little bit about myself. I went to chiropractic school in St. Louis, Missouri at a college named Logan University. I got my DC there. I also have a master's degree in sports science and rehabilitation, and I am a certified chiropractic sports practitioner, meaning I did a bunch of extra hours and took an additional certification to really focus on sports injuries and athletes. At my office, the bulk of my patients are athletes that do very active things. I see a lot of runners, I see a lot of CrossFitters, I see a lot of people who are competing in bodybuilding shows or powerlifting and everything like that. And my passion is just really helping people move well and maintain injury-free status through kind of their training program. So some of the things that I'm going to talk about today is just a really broad general overview of some running mechanics and then injury prevention. If you guys like the series for future races, I think we're going to really focus on specific areas maybe or a specific clinical problem that you might experience as an endurance runner or someone who is pounding pavement or doing a lot of biking or other things of that nature. If in the future you have any suggestions or things you'd like covered, let us know. I will be at Packet Pickup as well, doing some taping there, and we'll be around for any questions. I know many of you are coming from not out of town. I know a lot of great sports chiropractors and other necks of the woods too, if you're looking for a referral. But yeah, so that's kind of that. I'm gonna get started. The main thing that I really try to emphasize, especially with endurance athletes and runners, is the fact that you spend about 90% of your gait cycle not on 2 feet. So the majority of the time and even more when you're running, especially if you're running at a fast pace, that number gets larger. So you're on 1 foot or no feet for the majority of your time when you're doing kind of a gait cycle. One of the things that we see a lot of, especially for people that are prone to injuries or people that are injured, probably one of the reasons they cause the injury, is that people don't have a stable base and they don't have stable hips when they're only on 1 foot. So they can do really great on 2 feet. They can squat large numbers, they can deadlift great, all of that with great form. You put them on 1 foot and they have a hard time even balancing, which is problematic considering when they go for a run. If you're going to do a 25-mile race, 50-mile race, 100-mile race, you're doing all of those miles basically only on 1 foot. So it's really important that you train kind of a lot of unilateral work. So the majority of the exercises that I give to people and that you'll see further on in this video really are single-legged exercises. The other thing that tends to happen, especially with runners, is people get really quad dominant and they forget about their posterior chain. So we spend a lot of time making sure that people's glutes are engaged, people's external rotators are healthy and have good endurance for them, and that people have a lot of good core strength. Also with runners, we see a lot of really locked up mid-feet and lack of ankle dorsiflexion. So we recommend for people to spend some pretty significant time mobilizing into ankle dorsiflexion because that's really important with gait. And so the second half of this video will have a bunch of exercises for you to do, either as prehab or rehab. If you kind of are having some aches and pains with really anything in your lower extremity, all of those exercises are going to be a great fit for you. One of the big things that tends to happen is in a normal gait cycle, you have, I'm going to try and do this with my hand as best as I can. You have heel strike, and then your foot goes down, and you have a normal degree of pronation, and your foot unlocks, and then basically you move back into supination or going on towards the out of your feet, and then you end off and toe off, and you switch and you do the same thing. As you move into pronation and that foot is flattening, your tibia, which is the bone in your lower leg, and then your femur, which is the bone in your thigh, do what's called internal rotation. So they turn in slightly when pronation is happening. When people are excessive pronators, or sometimes if their hips aren't stable, instead of the tibia and the femur rotating together, they start to rotate opposite ways. So the tibia will internally rotate, and then if you're an excessive pronator, that internal rotation keeps happening, and then your femur starts to rotate the other way, and that's when we get a lot of torque on our knees, and we get a lot of like hip pain and stuff. This is when people start getting IT band syndrome, patellar tracking problems. This is very typical for someone who has plantar fasciitis, and it really kind of spreads the dynamic up and down your whole lower extremity. And the fix for a large majority of like knee complaints is very much focusing on hip stability and ankle dorsiflexion and movement and making sure all of your joints are mobilized and moving correctly. So that's why we give a lot of those out. The exercises that you'll see in the videos, basically, I recommend people do kind of mix it in with your cross training. They don't take that long, from start to finish. I think the whole video is, of the exercises we give are maybe like 11 minutes. So it doesn't take long at all. We always tell runners as well to really focus on when you're lifting in the gym on your lifting days. And if you aren't lifting in the gym, please start. But that you really focus on those big compound movements as well. So you're doing squats, for sure, you're doing deadlifts, for sure, cleans, things like that, where you're getting lots of compound joint movement has really been shown to decrease injury status and everything like that. And that also, again, you're hitting these kind of unilateral exercises that we've given you. So do the big compound deadlift, do the big compound squat, but then make sure you're doing like a split squat. Also make sure you're maybe doing some walking lunges, so you're practicing stabilization kind of in a dynamic environment, or you're doing a single leg deadlift. The other thing that tends to really get ignored in the gym is really focusing on your hip abductors, so the things that kind of squeeze your legs out or your thighs out. The clam exercise that we've given you in there is a great exercise for that, and really focusing on strong abductors helps kind of your knee from caving in when you're doing a lot of miles and running. So I hope you enjoy the future exercises. Like I said, this degree of exercise I think any runner should do. I feel really good about that. They would benefit pretty much everyone. So if you have any specific questions, I will make sure that Tim has my email address to get to you, or like I said, I'll be at Packet Pickup for you. I hope you find them valuable, and let us know if there's anything specific in the future you'd like to see. Thanks. I'm going to demonstrate the hip airplane right now. The hip airplane works great for, especially I give these a lot to endurance athletes, runners, people doing a lot of pounding of pavement. These are also great if you have low back pain, or you're looking to add some weight onto your squat, perhaps, be a little bit more stable. Courtney's going to demonstrate the hip airplane. Basically, it's going to start, she's going to put all of her weight onto one leg with a slight bend in her knee, really focus on posterior chain engagement. So what I mean by that is you should actively feel your butt tighten, and same thing for your hamstrings. You shouldn't be feeling these all in your quads at all. So she's going to stick her leg back and come forward and look like an airplane, keeping her back nice and flat. The idea being we could set something on her back and it would stay there. Then she's going to open up away from that leg that's on the ground, hold it, and then come back to her starting position. This is so much harder than it looks. This is one of those exercises that sneaks up on you. You look at it and you're like, oh yeah, no problem. And then you do it and everything's burning and hurting. So she's going to demonstrate some on the side so you can see. So again, the key takeaway is that nice soft bend in the knee, heel driving into the floor, staying nice and flat until you're opening. She's going to show you from one more angle so that you can see it. Ooh, feel the burn, baby. Awesome. So that is the hip airplane. These are great to do either if you can get yourself into a couple of reps, so go into one rep and then see how many you can do opening and closing without touching that foot to the ground, or if you're just getting started, taking a break in between or alternating from side to side and going back to it, totally your choice. So that's the hip airplane. We are going to demonstrate the single leg deadlift. We've chosen a kettlebell. You can do this pretty much either even without weight if you're just starting out getting into it, or you can do these with just a dumbbell weight or a torpedo at the gym, kind of what a soup can in your kitchen, whatever works best for you. So Courtney's going to grab the kettlebell. She wants to have her heel in the floor, nice soft bend in the knee. Again, priority being we're not getting into our toes, we're staying into our heels for some really good glute and hamstring engagement. The other priority before she does this is that through this whole motion, her focus is on bracing her core, keeping it nice and tight, and avoiding rounding at her low back. So as far as what your range of motion is for this exercise, it's completely unique to you. Work into being able to perhaps touching the kettlebell to the floor. It's more important that you do these correctly than you do the range of motion in it. So if you feel yourself starting to give up on form, don't push it, just kind of stay within that. So she's going to hinge forward with that weight in her heels, soft bend in her knees. Again, going as far as she can with a nice flat back and a good solid core. Then she's going to squeeze her glutes and pull herself back up. You'll notice she has the kettlebell in her opposite hand. You can do these with kettlebell in the opposite hand, kettlebell in the same hand, or you can even do them with a kettlebell holding in the middle. Totally your choice, whatever works best for you. And that's the single leg deadlift. This is the single leg deadlift from the side. So again, she's gonna have her weight in her heels, soft bend in her knees. She's gonna hinge forward, making sure those glutes are engaged, hamstrings engaged, back is flat. Squeeze with her butt and come standing straight back up. We are going to demonstrate the split squat. So what Courtney's gonna do on setup, you're gonna find either like a low box, you can do these with a bench, you can do these off your couch if you want to, kind of whatever works for you. For setup, ideally what you want to end up in when you're at the bottom is going to be a nice stacked 90 degrees on this leg, 90 degrees on that leg. So it's often easy to start from the bottom with these to find a good location for you. Go ahead and lift yourself up. So with this, with the split squat, what we're focusing on, again, is posterior chain engagement, getting into those glutes. She doesn't want to come so far forward so that her knee is going to jut over her toes, so you want to kind of descend straight down when you're doing these, and then your toe either kind of straight facing forward, maybe rotated slightly out. And what we're also trying to look for and avoid is what we call a knee cave. So what I don't want to see is I don't want to see Courtney's knee coming in towards midline when she's doing these. You kind of have to almost push your hips out when you're doing them to keep that from happening. So you can do this again, just body weight. You can do these with dumbbells holding. You can do these with a bar over your back. Kind of your choice, anywhere and everywhere. She'll show you a few from the front. Beautiful. And that is the split squat. All right, we are going to demonstrate for you a couple different variations of the glute bridge. So with this, you're going to lay on your back. Hands are going to be by your side. You want them palm up. Oftentimes, if we go palm down, it's an easy way to cheat and kind of push through your hands. So don't do that. We want everything to kind of come from your butt when we're doing this. You're going to start the movement. We're going to squeeze our heels into the floor, actively squeeze our glutes before we kind of rise up, brace our core like someone's going to punch us, and she's going to push through her heels and drive herself up top. Now, the money in this movement is kind of in the last 10%, so you want to get to where you think your top range is and then see if you can't squeeze things a little bit more. Come on down. What she's really focusing on is keeping a nice flat pelvis. So if you want to come up, show me a bad one. You don't want to be like hinged to one side, uneven, kind of falling, all that. So again, work within a range where you can do this correctly. You can do these either for time, you can do these for reps, totally your choice, kind of intermix the two. Once you get really good at doing that, you can go up on both legs, kick one leg out, and again with the goal of maintaining that straight level pelvis. Go ahead and come back down. Another variation to this, Courtney can put a knee to her chest, hold on to it, drive through the other leg, and really come forward with that. So that would kind of be level 3. Go ahead and come on down. So that is the glute bridge. Those are some different options for you. Again, you can also add a weight onto your stomach if you're getting really good at these and you want kind of an extra challenge for it. I think that body weight alone oftentimes offers you a good one, but that's glute bridge. We are going to demonstrate the clam for you. So what we're working here is our hip abductors. You are going to feel this kind of in your side butt when you're doing this. This is one of those exercises where you may look at people doing it and it looks very non-threatening, and then you do it yourself and you're like, oh, everything hurts and I'm dying. When Courtney does the clam, what she's going to do, she wants to really focus on keeping her hips forward. So I don't want to see a lot of sway back and forth with her pelvis. She's going to actively engage her glutes and slowly open from the hips. Now again, the money in this is in that last 10%. So get to where you think the end of your range is and open all the way up. Go ahead and let it fall back down. Show them a bad one. So a bad one is going to be when she opens and you see her pelvis fall backwards. back forward, do a good one. So you want to keep this all the way forward, and she's probably really feeling this burn right kind of in the side is where you're going to kind of feel everything. When you get really good at those, another variation that you can do, she's going to dig her knees into the ground, lift those legs up, and do the same thing here. Gets a little bit harder. Again, don't work forward unless you can fully maintain that pelvis facing forward. The slower the better for these. We're really trying to work kind of those types of muscle. Don't slam through it as quick as you can. That's not going to be as beneficial. So those are clams. We are going to demonstrate some ankle dorsiflexion for you, kind of more in the eccentric motion, meaning, there's concentric, which is the contraction phase, eccentric, which is the lengthening under load phase. So we're going to put her calf muscles under stretch to strengthen them a little bit. Your calf muscles especially are susceptible to injury in the eccentric phase, so it's important that we work them and work the musculature like this. There are two different calf muscles that are important to know about. You have your gastroc, which is that nice double-bellied, I guess the pretty muscle if you're looking at people's calves. And then you have your soleus, which is underneath that. The gastroc actually attaches above your knee. So when you're working your calf muscles with a straight leg, you're working your gastroc. When you're working them with a bent knee, you're going to be working your soleus. So it is important to hit them both up because they are important. What she's going to do, we're going to start with a straight leg to work our gastroc. She's going to push herself up into like a calf raise, and then she's going to lower on one leg, really focusing on getting into that negative where she's standing. You can do this with two legs down. Some people prefer to just have that one leg standing. Go ahead and raise yourself back up and let yourself lower again. You can do these holding a weight, wearing a weighted vest, doing just your body weight. You can do these off your stairs. You can do them at a box at the gym, kind of whatever is convenient for you. Now, because we've done the gastroc, we're also going to do the soleus. So she's going to do the same thing, except for she's going to bend her knee. And you should feel different muscle engagement when you do this. It's going to feel a little bit different. Go ahead and put yourself back up. And that's the eccentric calf raise focusing on the soleus. So be sure to hit both of those muscles up. This is another really great ankle mobility exercise and drill that I like to do, especially for the midfoot. You're going to stand up against the wall like you're getting rested. Hopefully none of you know what that's like. And you are going to raise one leg up and over to about the 10 o'clock position on the clock. Now, I really want you to focus on getting on the outside of your foot with this, and then when she comes back, she's going to come to about the 5 o'clock position, and then really focus. You see her knee caving. I want this done on purpose because I want her midfoot to flatten down into as much pronation as she can get it in. Go ahead and go back up. What we're doing is kind of almost neurologically talking to your feet, getting them used to going into supination and pronation, working the motion between the two, and really stretching out the muscles in between. Perfect. We are going to talk a little bit about mobilizing ankle dorsiflexion. This is a really important thing to do, especially for runners or people who are doing a lot of squatting leg work. This can be a pretty limiting factor for people. Ideally, you're going to work this before your workout, before you're doing things. What you're going to do is set up kind of against the wall. And all she's going to do is literally, you can kind of step this leg back for me in like a lunge. Perfect. Is basically just lunge forward and work on mobilizing that motion. So she can come back out of it, press forward. Perfect. And that's it. Simple as that.